I have a dream. Here I am. Let me show you where I'm at. And then you'll know my dream. I have a dream. In the famous words. Here's my dream. My dream is to not make, money selling a course about real estate. My dream is to make money on my addictions. Therefore, I'm hoping that I get monetized by eBay so, I could sell things like, this is a joke, like Keurig coffee pots, Tillamook cheese. I want to get paid for my addictions. The egg company and the dog bone company. All right, there you go. Turn this baby around and we're going to start. Why isn't it not turning around? Slow connection. Okay, there we are. So what did I want to do real quick? I want to clarify what I just said a little bit ago. This is still slot 4 because I kind of led you astray, and I want to make sure that you know that you are not supposed to go on a piece of property before it sells, because that's private property. And so when I mentioned that I had burned on a piece of property, yeah, you're not supposed to be on things. So be careful what you're doing out there. As I do head down many roads, looking at what's at the end of it, I am always very much aware of cars, movement, dogs. But let me tell you what's happened to me a couple times. It hasn't been a very fun experience a few times. Well, one time it was a tax sale, and I was very, very deep up in the foothills of the east side of the Cascade Mountains, Klamath Falls. Way deep up by the National Forest. And there was this major bus, like a school bus. And it looked brand new, except, why the heck was it painted funny? It was like painted like a grayish black. And I thought, that's about the ugliest thing I've ever seen. Who would take such a beautiful bus like that and do that? And I went beside it, and it was kind of parked out on the, I had to squeeze tight to get around it in my truck. It was a Jeep trail I was on. It was bladed years ago. It's the actual easement. And so they were out on that easement. I went up probably maybe another quarter of a mile, and Mom, close your ears. I went up maybe a quarter of a mile, and at that point, there was a lot of dogs barking, and the river gets up there, and it looked like maybe a grow-op was sitting back in the trees, and I just kind of left it alone. I looked at the property and noted what was up there. I'm looking before the sale. Do I really want to go back up there? Well, not really. Somebody called me later and said, Char, why didn't you buy that at the tax sale? Because he did, and I said this. But anyway, as I'm coming back down off that, I had turned around, and now I'm coming back down, and I'm going by that bus, and I noticed that the windows are cracked along the top of it. Maybe like, how you used to crack your bus windows 2 to 3 inches. All of a sudden, a young man comes popping out of that. My window was down. Oh my God, I about shit my pants. What do you mean somebody? Oh my gosh, wow. And he goes, can I help you? And I felt very, very vulnerable. And I said, oh no, I'm just, looking at what's up for sale on the tax sale. There's property up there, and, just trying to hold, be cool about it. Yeah, he scared the shit out of me. wondering why you're sitting in that color, there's the red flags are going off. I'm not, I do get some red flags. Usually the red flags are dating world. I look at a red flag and it's moving so fast, looks pink to me, and I love pink. But that was a red flag situation. Anyway, I did say to him, I go, I'm surprised you got your bus all the way to the top, playing nice. And I go, but it's a real weird color. And he let me know that they had painted it something to do with roofing paint. And okay, I never have been back there. I don't need to go make money that bad. Some hunter can have that's going up there loaded. Having said that, that was several years back, and Klamath County has certainly cleaned up a lot of the bullshit that was going on up there. People were just, when pot first became legal in Oregon, they were one of the first states up where we lived, and everybody and their dog, moved to the rural cheap lands to put up their greenhouses. And I certainly tell you on my website what the zoning requirements are, and you don't get to go live on a piece of property without having a building permit, without putting in a state septic that meets state guidelines. That's how you get problems in communities, is when people are allowed to live in tents and cities, and we create problems. All right, so be careful when you're out there. You don't have the right to go on to private property. I did have the right to be on that road, though. Also, Klamath County, again, that's kind of a rough place. I don't really like to go up there alone anymore. It's things have gotten difficult in all areas. We have such a drug problem in America. Wow, it exploded. And I have looked at rural America for the last 25 years. It exploded into chaos about during when the government put us on a lockdown. What was that, 4 or 5 years ago? Oh my gosh. And things just got crazy in the middle of nowhere. Anyway, so be careful when you're out looking at land. Do I go look at stuff? Yeah, if it looks like the driveway's overgrown. We're talking about overgrown driveways, or no driveway on the property. I look at Google Earth ahead of time. Oh, what's that little dot there? Oh, look at that little white thing that's on there. And so I go look at it, and hidden in the woods there could be all kinds of things, an RV, or not even hidden in the woods, the desert wide open, a wellhead. Am I going to get out of my truck and am I going to go look in that shed to see if there's a wellhead in there? You bet I am. I'm going to go try to see what the inside of those RVs look like. Are they trashed? Usually, an RV that's been sitting a while is trash, not from humans, but rather from other animals. So, I guess I want to see, what am I up against? What is my buyer going to have to clean up? Because I'm not going to clean up an RV. But if it's a RV that you could live in, and it's on the piece of property, I have no problem selling that. Wow, somebody's going to buy that. I can't say that I want to go live in an RV off grid with no, or camp. I'm more into glamping. All right, so law says you can't go on property. It's private property. If you get your ass shot doing it, you're your own worst enemy. And if that happens to me, just know that I died doing what I love. All right. that's it. And next up is I'm going to talk a little bit about a self-directed IRA. What the heck is that all about? Peace out.